5 o'clock. As we start, there's a couple of things that I just wanted to share with the group. We asked Scott to go down with Chris and take a look at the Mueller Center roof, and he sent a report back. He said the roof's general appearance is very good, to excellent condition. Saw no dry areas. Where there's rubber, where the rubber roof membrane will begin to crack and deteriorate. The weakest part of the roof is on its edges and how it was fastened to the original installation. So we might need some care there during the year. He felt that it was something that Chris and both he and Chris looked at it together, felt was something that they could do together. He sent some pictures along. Also mentioned that Weathercraft has been a good partner, and if there are any issues, they can serve as a technical, advisor to confirm or if we do have some issues. The biggest issue is the skylight still, and Chris, he felt Chris has a good handle on what he's currently doing with the metal frame construction, and so I think we're safe to delay that roof at the Mueller Center over the theater for at least a couple of years. Retake a look at it and see how it's holding up. But I think we should probably maintain $3,000 in the budget just for the localized repairs that might need to be done. So
I only made 4 copies of his presentation. If all of you would like all of it, let me know. Otherwise, I figured we'd just review it and pass it around. But I would like to keep one at the end of this tonight.
Sure. I talked with Chris today, and he was up on the roof with Scott and concurred. Chris is not trying to stack the budget or anything like that. He has a very passion to keep that Mueller Center up and keep ahead of things.
He's always been good at what he does.
And there's some concern. He was, concerned because he had thought he'd seen some water spots, but the roof is in good shape. The other thing that came about, talking with Olivia, the bid board, or at least one of the members of the bid board, Wally, has suggested that the bid kick in $5,000 for the fireworks. And I would suggest that we leave the $5,000 in, but this is certainly up for debate. But if we have Jerry Dunn that's willing to do a Veterans Marathon, going to bring people into town, I think we need to have a good fireworks show, and certainly having that additional $5,000 would give us an opportunity to do that. That's something that obviously the bid board, we can't just go in and grab that, but the bid board would have to vote on that. And I think with Wally's persuasion, hopefully they'll see the need to do that, to get bids.
Wally is persuading.
To get the beds filled during that. So,
but I mean, even they can see if we delete the 4th of July show or whatever you want to call it, that it's going to have an impact with them also.
yeah, it's going to have an impact with them. So those are the two developments, and obviously the delaying of the roof creates
The fence in
the
parks.
fence. The other one is the fence in the park. Thank you, Misty.
Yep.
And I talked with Kurt today. Again, he has gotten a rough estimate from Moe's Fencing, and they feel they can't do that for less than $20,000, so.
This softball field fence, it is the one that's not like a chain link fence, that's about this high, but I was trying to answer and I might not have the right one. Which fence is this at Butler Park that they're replacing? Could you
The one
describe?
at the softball field.
And the softball field is the one,
That must be the one that's right next to the road.
I
right, so
think
that
so,
has
yeah.
the lower, it's
Yeah.
not chain link, it has, I mean, it's metal, but it's not a regular chain link fence.
It was-
There's no
it was
protection
seen-
over the top.
It was seamed in years ago with what chain link is there. Because
Yeah,
it was part of the original fence.
yeah. I'm told that it's been mismatched, put together, and part of it is the original fence that
Yeah.
was there originally. So that 5,000 that we took out, we probably recommend that that gets put back in so that they can do that. And that was consensus of the Parks and Recs meeting today.
Because I walked the fence the weekend, me and my wife. It's in bad shape. It's
Okay.
really bad shape.
Okay, good. I haven't been up to see it specifically or walk around
Oh,
it.
thanks,
but
I got
it. No, me and Terry-
It is.
I was talking about it at home, my wife used that as a reason for making me go out and walk, so.
And there's been some interest from the adults in the community to be able to develop more of a softball league. And so hopefully that field will be used. And one of the parts that they'll have to do is put a safety tubing on top of the fence.
Yeah, they're gonna have to put a topper, safety topper for.
Topper, so that's all, I think, included in that estimate.
So is that the only field being used for softball? There used to be 3 softball fields up there.
I don't know how they choose
I-
the field, I really
Yeah,
don't understand how
I think
that
there's
works,
another
to be
one,
honest with you.
Craig, that's a good question. The Little League field, I think, and there was some question about adding a fence for softball for that and then taking it down, but that didn't go too far with, people having to do that mid-season is not a.
That Little League field, it's the one in the middle. Did they shorten the fence? Because at one time that fence, I mean, it was really hard to hit a softball out. I mean, you had to really.
I think I think that's what they wanted to do was put, and don't quote me on this, but it was my understanding in Parks and Recs meeting today that there was a request to put the fence in shorter on the Little League
Because
field.
it's supposed to be a 6-foot fence, most chain link fence comes as an 8-footer. Because it's made actually for protection and stuff like that, to keep people out. But, so you basically are buying a more specialized fence. It's a 6-footer, and that's what is actually required.
So why was it taken away from the softball and turned into a Little League field?
I can't answer
I
that.
think this sounds
Because-
like a Parks and Recs conversation, really more than a
Yeah.
budget conversation, since we don't really, I
Yeah.
don't know.
So really, we don't,
Well, we're trying to
don't have
solve,
a
the
big-
one request is, that we're trying to solve is the field, or what's known as the
Put a
softball
fence
field.
up.
Yeah.
So we have $1,000, or really $995 left to find in the general fund before we balance it. I have a suggestion if you want to hear it, but I'm open to suggestions of yours if you'd like to share.
let's hear
I
yours.
thought we had
That's
to
all.
come up with a lot of money.
We just eliminated the roof, which was
I
$66,000.
didn't hear we eliminated, I
Oh.
know he's talking about
Yeah,
it.
so those were the changes we've made since we looked at it last. We added 5,000 back into the parks. We eliminated 66 of the 69,000 budgeted for building repairs at the Mueller Center, leaving 3,000 for this year's repair if needed on the roof. He did, in just your last batch of claims, he did $1,200 worth of repair to both sites this year.
Okay, so just stop there for a second. Now, that $3,000, you'd like to kind of ear tag that towards the Mueller Center, just in case there is an issue?
Yep.
Just in
Or-
case there is, and they certainly still are trying to solve that issue of the center part, so,
But we're not saying we're actually spending it until we get to a certain point?
right,
Okay.
yeah.
And
That's
it's
what I wanted.
included in this $7,000 figure for the
Yeah.
Mueller Center there. And then with the 5,000 addition and the removal of that, this is the new balance. My recommendation is that you give $9,000 to Shedco. That's the easy one, or you can go back to your general fund departments and try to chunk away maybe $100
I think we
here.
ought to give 5,000 to Shedco and put 2 fences up above the park.
Well, I don't think we get another whole fence for 4,000, but that's
Yeah.
a suggestion too.
And it's a temporary, it's, I think what they're talking about is a movable one, that they can change it for Little League and then put it, the Little League season's over, then put it for softball, and
That's gonna be
that was
spending.
not a very accepted idea, because who's gonna do that, so on and so forth, so it was kind of dropped as a suggestion.
Can
I'd go along with the 9,000 for Shedco.
I think that's a good idea, rather than take it elsewhere.
I,
Bill, why can't the police department share computers?
Oh, yeah, sorry, that's great.
There's,
They've got 8 officers and they want an individual desktop computer for each officer?
I asked Mike that question, and as soon as I find his email, I'll tell you what he said.
Because that would be $3,000 worth of
I think it's kind of dysfunctional to make them share computers when they have their own dedicated workspace.
They're not all users.
Well,
Right,
some,
they have their own information to put in each time.
so,
okay,
on that particular deal there, I mean, we're talking about, everybody gets a brand new computer this year or this coming.
Yes.
Why is it we can't do so
The
many
new
at a
software.
time?
The new software, and for ease of use, if they're all operating on the same system, using the same computer.
So-
Bill has an answer for mine.
let me just read what
Okay,
Mike's,
all right.
as I'm writing this email to give you the information on why it's important for each officer to have their own computer. First off, Bill and I need our own computers for administrative purposes. We have sensitive information regarding employees that isn't for general consumption, as well as access to the body cam and car cam footage. Darcy needs her own computer for administrative purposes that includes data entry, NIBRS reporting, and many other daily duties she performs. Please don't ask me what NIBRS is. The officers require their own computers for many reasons that include report writing is an imperative part of our jobs, and there have been times when 4 officers have been in the office writing reports, search warrants, and daily activities. Officer-specific programs. We have logins for such programs as Beast, Trax, and NLETs, just to name a few. Officer email accounts are set up on every computer. Our correspondence with the state's attorney, city officials, and officer safety bulletins from the fusion centers are a daily activity. The amount of data, including videos, would double on every computer if we were reduced to sharing. If the computer were to malfunction, you would lose 2 officer information instead of 1. This would force even more workload on the remaining computers. These are a few reasons it's very important for each to have our own computer. I believe the production will decrease and frustration of sharing will, computers will be an unnecessary and extra burden placed on our officers.
So they are sharing them as it stands right now.
No, they just have super old ones, I think.
They have
Okay,
all,
so
and
we're
they're,
pushed into buying all these just because of the new.
no, it's, part of it, we've got, and I don't know how many, but we've got a few of them that are getting the blue screen of death. So they're old, they're,
Didn't I just hear something about the new program?
Zerker, yeah.
Zurcher, and they gave us, Zurcher will actually run on Windows 7, so that part isn't an issue. The steps, sorry.
I'm sorry to make you go through.
No, it's, you asked the question,
I'm just trying to understand.
and I apologize for not having these arranged where I can answer the question quickly.
If we trimmed 500 from Shedco, then we gotta come up with about $445. That's easier to come up with than 1,000. Shedco's important too.
I have nothing, nothing, you know what, everything we got right here for our small community
You're right.
It was,
But the thing is we, you know, that one there to me is kind of a stumper, because if they were once together, per se, as another entity, and they shared monies and all that, and duties and so forth, why is it all of a sudden that percentage that we give to the chamber, all of a sudden can't help but shit like that? You understand, I mean, I know I'm not understanding everything on that particular part, but
I'd rather give computers to the police department than money to Shedco, I'm sorry.
I agree.
That's just the way I feel.
I fully support Shedco to the end of the world, but police department before Shedco.
that should, you know, the police department, fire department, our water lines, that is all our basis of our community, so if we don't keep up with that, we are gonna pay for it later on. I truly think that.
We can.
But I'm just trying to understand this particular situation where everybody needs a brand new computer all of a sudden. Is it because of the new program, or?
Well, I'm gonna tell you what the Zercher system needs. Please don't ask me to,
Pinpoint it on.
I'm reading, okay?
There you go.
It needs modern Intel or equivalent. Memory is 2 gigabytes of RAM, 1.5 gigabyte of hard drive, resolution 1024 by 768, operating system Windows 7, network requirements 200 kilobytes per second local area network, dual core processor, Intel i3 or equivalent, 4 gigabyte RAM, okay, this is recommended client hardware, 10 gigabyte free space, 1080 pixel monitors, I guess, Windows 7, and then gigabit LAN.
Well, I talked to one of the officers today, and he said his computer took over 10 minutes just to start up, and that does not sound good.
I think that's,
I don't think that's a computer issue.
It is.
It is.
That-
They
I
should not
think-
take that long.
honest to goodness, I think the request for the computers would have been in the budget regardless of Zercher, because it takes, and I've had discussions with them, it takes 10 minutes for Word to load, so they're,
And shut down.
and shut down, so they're spending a lot of time.
Do they even have the service that they need for Golden West? I mean, are they all the way updated inside the building?
Big fiber optic,
They're laying fiber optic when we do the
Are they?
road.
yeah, but they're not fiber optic, yeah.
I don't know. I know
All
they're
of
doing it when they
downtown
do the
is
road.
it, yeah.
Basically what they're requesting here is high speed and whatever.
We have IT guys, I mean, I guess when we got to the point where we'd be buying the computers and answering those questions, that's who we should be asking, the person who runs our.
But just turning on and starting or using Word is not internet related. That wouldn't cause it to go slower.
No, it won't.
Old
but
operating
performance, but
systems.
what I'm saying is, are we gonna buy these and we're still gonna have an issue? You know, if we have what it needs to run it.
And I did ask the question, I think if we wanted to go to in-car computers instead of desktop, they're only 15 grand a piece if we wanted to switch directions.
I've been out of my depth since we lost rotary dial on the phones, but is 750, I mean, is that upper spectrum for a desktop, or? middle of the road?
I think it's middle. You can get a laptop comes for $550 or $5 something just recently, but a desktop might be a little bit more
The
800
personal
bucks.
laptop I just bought was
What's that?
$1,200, so I think this is very
middle of the road.
fair.
$800 for an IBM desktop isn't an unreasonable price at all.
And these are
No, we don't know
Normal.
yet. I don't
If you
think,
get
we
something
haven't
that's got everything
agreed to
on
put
there,
this for
it's
his budget.
updatable.
So they'll.
We'll be doing
they'll
some
take-
shopping.
They'll be taking
I
quotes
just
and
was
so forth.
wondering if it was just because of the program, or if
No,
we're just having an
their
issue.
stuff, their
or
stuff is,
ancient.
How old are the computers?
I think they said they're over 10 years old. 8 to 10 years is, I believe, what Mike said.
That's antique.
That's old for computers.
That's more than that. And talking computers, because you figure the programs every 4 to 6 months are updated and improved.
All right, so we leave the PD computers in. We're back to needing $1,000 to
How about we
balance the
just dump,
general.
how about we just pull $5,000 and offer $5,000 to Shedco? Is there, because this is going to be the first year we've ever given them anything, right?
No,
No.
we gave them 5,000 last year.
Give
Oh, so we're not going down.
And over the years, the city has given a lot of money to
Yeah.
Shedco.
I mean, everybody has to understand that even Shedco, that we don't have to give. So it's rather than to hurt.
Well, they didn't get it.
I think if we do that tonight, we're balanced then, right?
Yes, and 5,000, we can either leave 4,000
We could have a
to
cushion.
get cash applied to the general fund, or we could stick it in contingency or
I like
something,
the idea
either
of
way.
having a cushion.
I said the other night, 5,000, Ray and I both did it.
Yeah. And I wasn't against it. I just wanted to get to the very end of it, where we needed to be before we start.
You know, I think, and I go with giving at least 9,000. It was very interesting to walk down to the Miller Civic Center today and see that full of people applying for jobs in our community. And Baumgars was happy to have a chance to talk with their HR person and their regional manager. And they're happy to be here. And Shedco's a big part of getting us here. They will bring us a lot of revenue, Shedco asked for more last year. We didn't give them, but they still came through, and I think it's an important investment to make for our community.
Did you get a feel on how many people were down?
Pardon?
Did you get any kind of a feel on how many people were down?
Yeah, they had,
100?
I can't remember the number that he quoted, but it was quite significant. And even while I was there were people being interviewed and waiting to be interviewed. And this was late in the afternoon, and they said they'd had a full opportunity. And of course, I saw our police officer's husband, we gave him a lot of static.
So I got 9,000 and I got 5,000. Anybody else have a,
Okay, if we
anybody else?
give them $9,000, is, we balance it, and do we have any cushion anymore?
Yeah, we have contingency and that's all.
And how deep is those pockets?
We budgeted 40 or, I don't know,
It was
50?
50, I think.
We talked about
50. There's a few of you who haven't shared your opinions about Shedco. I want to give you an opportunity.
I'm fine with giving Shedco 9,000.
Thank you.
Shedco Golf Course and Evans Plunge are going to generate the most conversation, I think, as far as the city's budget is concerned.
And don't forget Prairie Hills Chancellor.
No, we busted right through that one. Did we put them at 2,500 actually? If you remember, they are at 2,500 in this budget.
We had talked about Black Hills Vision a while back, and then there was some concern with previous council that the city gave them X amount of dollars over a number of years, and it was felt that the city didn't see an appropriate return on the money that they gave to them. I I view Shedco a lot like insurance. We pay our insurance, we hope we're gonna need it, most of the time we don't. So it's money that we're paying to make sure something's there. Shedco is criticized because people look at them and say, well, what business did they bring to town? Haven't seen anything. Well, I'm not saying they haven't.
Oh, I know, I know.
That's the opinion that you'll see, you'll hear
Oh,
sometimes.
yeah, I've heard it myself.
And that isn't always Shedco's problem. Shedco tried to put together a industrial park that didn't happen because that's what they were hearing, is that for businesses, certain businesses come to town, they need industrial park. So that's something that didn't happen. But they came through on bomb cars. So if we have to pay them 3 or 4 years and we don't get any return, but we get a return in a certain year, I think that's money well spent. I'm fine with the 9,000. I would have been fine with the 10, but to balance the budget and be able to move on, giving them 9,000 will balance the budget. Still give the police department their computers, and let's get on to the other things that we need to talk about.
I just have a funny feeling if something does happen with the dealers, that it's gonna be a little more than we want it to be.
We used to have an industrial park in Hot Springs. He's up behind the old bowling, well, the new bowling alley.
We've also got one in
I'll try to, the thing that I kind of, in short, I agree with Bob. The last few years of my career was in an organization called Business Development. And so we were essentially an overhead expense. But what we did for the corporation is we were looking for something that would bring them revenue 10, 15, 20 years down the road. Because especially being an oil company, you're going to use up, if all you got is what you got now, you're going to use it up. And so we were allegedly the forward lookers, and that is important. And given, if my understanding of Hot Springs is correct, we're a lot less, we're smaller, we have fewer commercial outlets than we did 10 or 15 years ago. We need to do something, because I chose to live in Hot Springs, not Edgemont. And I don't mean to be ugly towards Edgemont, but I want a town that I don't want to have to drive to Rapid for everything I buy. So I'll shut up.
Ron, you're okay with 9? Yeah. I appreciate and respect the proposals. I think 9.
Yeah, I think
Consensus.
that's great. And, economic development is a very difficult thing. And a big part of it is the city government and how city government appears to that. And, even the headhunter that came to present last year to the council and to the community, had an opportunity to talk to her again and said, hey, what do businesses look for out of city government? They read the minutes and see what the issues are within the city. If there are any issues, they will watch the films. And if they see a dysfunctional council, bye, we're going somewhere else because they don't want to put up with it. And so it's important, from our standpoint, and also how well we support economic development. I think it's good that we're at 9.
So we're not giving Boys and Girls Club anything?
At this time, it's not built into the budget. It would be in this fund that you would discuss it. My recommendation is that we next go to Southern Hills Golf Course and then Evans Plunge, because any changes to those budgets affect this one, and we tackle the 2-2 or additional sales tax fund last. Is that okay? But you are correct. Right now, we didn't ask people to request money, but they did, and those are the requests we have it.
And the health bank hasn't received it.
Nope, correct. All right, so the golf course has 2 departments, within the fund. So the fund, 620, and then the departments are the ones we consider Jason's, which is the operations of keeping the course going, that's 45120, and then the pro shop, 45130. And we're gonna start with Jason's. His salaries and wages, he's not estimating adding any employees, making any significant changes there. Suffered like all of us from the group insurance increase, not sure what to do about. In his professional services, he pays a Toro NSN, it's something service network. It's $155 a month and it helps him monitor his irrigation system. Publishing, that's his advertising budget. He has $15,000 for advertising and marketing. Vehicle repairs, he has $300. Building repairs, he has $200. This would just be touch-up painting, nothing significant, maybe light maintenance on the cart storage building. Equipment repairs, he has $10,000. He has a lot of equipment that he uses out there at the golf course. It's hard to estimate this. He's very conscious in his spending, but he does need to replace reels, cutting units, and he has plans to replace them on 2 fairway mowers next year. Irrigation, we combined the front 9 and the back 9 irrigation last year, so if you notice that this is significantly larger, it's because we did that. $10,000 is what he has requested for irrigation.
Is that for replacing?
I think it's for irrigation repairs throughout the year, not replacing. It's no significant
basic
capital.
Well, I thought back when we was on the council, they put all new in there, I was
It's
working on
never
putting
been all
all new.
new. They've
No,
done
this-
sections and pieces.
Bring that other end of that over again.
Yeah, it's never,
That looks like it's more controls and operation stuff rather than the actual structure.
It's not new, yeah.
you're basically maintaining heads, control valves, having blowouts.
Yeah,
That's
fixing.
pretty much,
So last year you said was 4,000.
No, we changed the codes in 2019 so that we combined front 9 and back 9. So he had 8,000 between the two in the previous year, but we combined them. If you're thinking that that could be $1,000 or $2,000 lower, if you look back at history, I mean, it's hard to know, and we have done some improvements, but there may be a room for a small decrease there. Is that what you're getting at?
Well,
This is the time we make those cuts, so if you have that recommendation, we can talk about maybe able to go down 1,000 or 2. I don't think I'd go lower than 8.
well, I'd like to give some money to the Boys and Girls Club. And right now, it don't look like we have any unless we cut somebody.
Any cuts that you do in this, though, this is an enterprise fund, so it's not gonna go to you.
Well,
True.
it gets subsidized from our 212 fund, so they are kind of tied together. Any savings
Sorry.
here would be less of a subsidy having to be paid there, but that one has a shortage too, so it wouldn't be a direct savings. So anybody else think this could be lowered $2,000?
You know, I guess, I look at Jason as probably one of our most responsible department heads and financial estimating and keeping his costs down, and I'd say if he needs $10,000, he needs $10,000.
I think I'd get a surprise if you cut it and he's gonna have repairs, he's gonna come back and need it anyway.
Yeah.
What am I micromanaging?
Yeah, well, I'm just
Well,
saying
they
that based on his
micromanage
history.
him to cut it.
In his history, and we've done irrigation improvements, he has not needed that much. So that, not because I think he's overestimating or not a good manager of his money, but just looking at historical repairs, knowing that you'd have to,
And running that much pipe and heads, and controls in an area that it freezes, it's difficult.
okay, so we'll leave it at 10.
But I hope he has a drain before it freezes.
No, but I mean, you'll still have, you could have a teaspoon of
I
in a
know
head
that.
in a control valve, and if it freezes, it ruins it. So, I mean, there's no way it's gonna be perfect.
Okay. Pumps, motors, and VFDs, he has 2,500. Supplies, 1,000. These are including office supplies, WD-40, brake cleaner, carb cleaner, nuts and bolts. He puts all that in there. Clothing is 200, and that includes personal protective equipment like earplugs and gloves and safety glasses. Janitorial supplies would be 200, and those are for the course bathrooms.
That last one was 700, wasn't it? The clothing? Or
Yeah, clothing is 700.
We have 200 in here, it was lowered, and this is with the mayor's edits. What we took out was hot dogs, chips, hamburgers, and drinks to use as incentive for his staff. So it's 200.
We knew Bob would take that out anyhow.
The rentals, what was that again? What does he use the rentals, what is that normally for?
Where's rentals?
It's way above. I'm a little
Between
slow.
publishing
He has nothing there. He has nothing in rentals. He had something projected for last year, but in 2020's budget, he's not asking for anything. And I'm sorry, I do have 2019 pulled up to tell you what he wanted it for in 2019. Tree spade rental. That's what it was this year. Oh, I don't want to close that just in case we want to look at it again. Where were we? We were down here. 2,500 in minor tools. He's looking to purchase a track snow blower to remove snow off the greens to prevent winter kill and irrigation. He's looking at spending 2,000 on head trimmers. That's what he wants to buy with his minor tools. Landscaping material, 100, sand, 2,500, fertilizer, 14,000, that gives him 3 applications. Pesticides, 4,000, plant growth regulator, 2,200, a wetting agent, 2,000, seed and sod, 800, gas, oil, and diesel, 8,000, signs, 2,000. He's looking, he uses his sign budget for golf service supplies, flag sticks, cup cutter blades, and hole whitener. If you're a golfer, maybe you know what those things are. Travel and conference, 1,500. He goes to the golf course superintendent's conference annually. Telephone, 1,250. Electricity, 7,000. Propane, 1,000. Cell phone, 300. He gets a $25 monthly reimbursement for a cell phone. He is requesting 2 used fairway mowers at an estimated cost of $50,000. And so his portion of the expenses for the golf course fund equal $333,385. Any discussion on any of that?
Yeah, on a 50,000 for the machinery, doesn't he have 2 operating right now?
He does. He has a fleet replacement program for his mowers, and these will be the next ones up. He does a replacement each year and trades in, and he buys used, not new equipment typically, and tries to purchase.
I was just going to ask if you had sent used.
Yes. Yeah.
Can we look, since you have it pulled up, what the 30,000 was for last year? Was that a mower,
Yeah,
I would
it
assume?
was similar. It was a backhoe, which he bought for 20. He ended up getting for somewhere in the 20,000. Sure. What's his year today?
What's his evaluation of the mowers that he has now?
I'm sorry?
What's his evaluation of the mowers
That
he
he
has now?
needs to
He needs
replace.
to.
No, I mean price-wise, if he's looking at buying 2, then
He's estimating 25.
that his are worth 25 with the 2.
He's estimating that his expense will be 25.
For the new used ones. What's he gonna get out of his if he's turning his in?
Well, that's what I was,
But, yeah.
that's what I was
Yeah.
wondering.
And
Is
It's all an
Is there
there any
estimate.
value in what he has right now?
This is what he's estimating he'll need even after trade-in to purchase 2 new mowers next year.
Oh, that's good.
So he's only gonna get less than 5,000 for his 2 more?
I don't know what amount he used for his estimate.
I wonder, because then in the future, you're gonna come up with the same two, replacing two. That's why I don't understand why we don't stagger.
He does stagger his equipment replacement. He just doesn't do it one each year.
I can't second judge him on that.
So we'll move on to Kathy's.
I have a quick question. On the wedding agent, he's projecting 2,000, but he hasn't used any of it. Is that something that's put on the fall or, because then the previous year, he didn't use any and then 700, so I'm.
It's a new, we changed it. It used to have a different object code and he wanted to track it differently in
Oh, okay.
2019. So previous years would be a good indicator. And I imagine the wedding agent isn't something that you need if you're getting good rain. I'm not sure, he has to regulate growth. And so you got to apply it when you need it and you can't always know what you're gonna need when you're gonna need, so.
And it depends on the year that you're having. Is it a dry, hot year or a wet, hot year? Or and is he bunking or does he bunk any of this stuff? The wedding age, I mean, does he buy it and holding some over for the following year?
I'm not sure what his inventory is of it right now, but that is quite possible that he has some.
I'd like to go back to the mower situation.
And calling it.
Was his mower,
Is he using a surfactant that he's calling a wedding
I
agent
have no idea.
to make his chemicals more effective?
I'm sorry.
You're saying there's a science to it, and he's got his science figured out, what he's
Well,
doing with it, and
for his pH.
that changed, that line item changed for how he's tracking it, and that's why the
That's what he
difference.
wants,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
so he's trading 2 mowers in and getting 2 mowers.
That was my understanding.
Are these mowers he just got last year?
I don't know, I'm sorry.
No,
He has
did not
a
get them
number
last
of
year.
pieces
They're,
of equipment.
I don't know how old they are, but they weren't.
Well, it looks to me like he's not getting very much money out of them.
They're not worth very much.
They're probably not worth very much.
Well, if
He
he's,
doesn't know what he's gonna get out of them yet either. I mean, we're projecting, we're just trying to project here, so
We're
none of these
projecting.
questions are really answered yet because we're not at the point of purchasing them, but this is what he thinks he needs to purchase the 2 used fairway mowers next year after spring.
So we don't know what the new used mowers are gonna cost.
We don't know all those things yet.
So we don't know what he's getting out of
The
the
last 2
old.
mowers we bought at the state home, one was 45,000, the other one was 54,000, so. And they're
Used,
not very big mowers,
used.
yeah. So,
Yeah, but I doubt you guys bought fairway mowers though.
But they're 3 years old now. So they're.
With them, or they were a year old when they got them?
So should we
They're
move on to
brand new
Kathy's?
state. The ones at the home.
I guess so.
Yes.
All right. Pro Shop's not looking to add any full or part-time staff. So their salary projection actually stayed very similar to the year before. Group insurance did go up. Professional services include her merchant processing fees, night security, and Black Hills technology fees. Vehicle repairs, we have been able to lower that. We got new carts with warranties, but we still need to fix flats, etc. Building repairs, she has 1,000. I'm not really anticipating anything, but historically something happens. Equipment repair, 1,000. Supplies, 1,800. That's mostly office supplies. Material or equipment for resale in her pro shop, she has 8,000 there. On sale wine, 500. On off sale beer, 14,000. Now these are all money makers for her, so as we look at these numbers, it's hard to consider a cut to those. Other materials for resale, that would include things like cigars and cigarettes, 1,500. Clothing, this is clothing for resale, not for anyone who works there, 10,500. Janitorial supplies, 2,300. Just wanted to look at where that's been historically. Minor tools, 500. Landscape material just includes mulch, soil, and plants for around the clubhouse area, 600. Gas, oil, and diesel for the carts, 2,200. Food, 20,000. Nothing in signs. She just the last couple years put $100 in travel and conference. Telephone, 1,800. They are, like the plunge, no longer paying for cable. Still have the service, but it's part of our contract with the cable company. Electricity, 7,000. She does not get any cell phone reimbursement. She does have principal and interest payments on the cart lease in 2018. We budgeted for that, and we have it continuing. So 192,725. And I think on this one, nope, on the other one, I totaled those two without any changes. That's the amount of revenue without the subsidy. This is the amount of the 333,385 and the 192,725. So we have a projected loss of $132,610 for the golf course, and the way that we cover that is a subsidy from our 212 fund, or the way we have historically. That's why these two tie to this one. Anybody have any changes they wanted to see in these, or should we move forward to the plunge?
Is electricity shared between the golf course, the shop, and the golf and the clubhouse?
Yes, the electricity budget,
Yeah.
yes.
So her 7,000 and his 7,000, they're actually together.
No, they both have the charges.
You have
So there were
separate
things,
meters?
yeah, Pro Shop will have 1 meter that's charged to her budget, and then all the other pumps and irrigation equipment and the lights in the golf sheds and the maintenance buildings are charged to Jason's.
It seems like her electricity
Two things
bill is
and then I
awful
think
high
that-
compared to.
But on her janitorial supplies, budgeting 2,300, she's only spent 760 so far this year. For 2018, she spent under 1,500.
Yeah.
Why is she projecting another 800 higher than janitorial supplies?
Probably somewhat of a cushion in case she needed something additional is what I would imagine. That's probably somewhere, if you wanted to, you could make a small cut, but you're talking $500 or so.
It's probably if there's more, there's probably some level of unknown there, because if there's more Christmas parties or Thanksgiving parties, then there's gonna be more cleaning.
Toilet paper, she puts under that too, so.
$800 for it?
That I can't answer, Bob, but I don't know, that, I'm just guessing that if there would be more people utilize it, that may drive up the cost, but that's, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard
I
to
don't have an
project
answer there.
perfectly. So we do allow, not that we want to overinflate anything, but we do allow for some unexpected, you have to. So any recommendations to lower any of these numbers? Janitorial supplies is the one we were just talking about, year-to-date and historically she hasn't used that much.
Make it even two.
Okay, everybody okay with that?
I think two
Drop
sounds
it
good.
down to 2.
Yeah. Anywhere else? All right, so that's gonna have to change. 132, 310.
Yeah.
I forget. 132, 310, and then I gotta go change their revenue.
And he's doing all his spray on his own, right, Troy?
Pardon?
He has no contracts for spraying.
No, he does everything,
He does everything.
it's everything
Because
very
at the end of the
monitored.
game-
He takes soil readings, soil temperature readings, moisture readings. so, yeah. he's very
I just
nice.
wondered if any of that changed while I was gone, so.
No.
Trying to watch that.
Yeah.
Okay, so anything else for the golf course? On to the plunge. Evans Plunge is an enterprise fund similar to the golf course. They did increase wages for virtually all positions in 2018. It was not proposed in the budget in 2019. We thought we could just absorb it, and so far we have, but we are projecting increases to $345,000 for those already approved wage increases.
We're increasing wages $30,000?
We are estimating in the plunge what we'll need for part-time, and I can show you the way we estimate that, but it's very difficult to project. So this calculation was determined by working with Chris at the plunge and talking about the number of days they're open, how many hours per day are needed, and not putting specific names of employees in there. And so that is how we come up with the projection for what's needed to cover the wages, expenses at the plunge. And then we add that to the full-time employees that we calculate the same way we do everybody else, which is easy to calculate. But with the raises that we offered for these positions and the number of hours per day and the total number of days we expect to be open, that's how we came up with that projection. I think we already did lower it just a little bit, right, George? The first number was a little bit higher. Not sure if we're real comfortable with lowering it anymore. Our year-to-date, I believe, for the plunge, and we are not quite halfway, is 166,000, so I'm not very comfortable dropping that much more.
And is the bulk of her payroll part-time? And if a large percentage of that is part-time, does that also reflect in things like the workman's comp and group insurance and retirement and so forth, or?
Yes, retirement is only calculated on those employees
On the
that
full-time.
benefit from it, right?
Okay,
Yep.
but workman's comp is based on everybody.
Yep, and it's
There was a
charging the first
discussion last night about-
$15,000 of wages earned, which typically is all of it for part-time.
Okay, and group insurance is based just
Only
on
full-time.
full-time?
And giving them a bonus. What does it cost to have them certified every time?
I don't know how much we pay for but there is a, you know how much the Red Cross certification is?
We
About
have
100.
trained Bowden to be an in-house trainer, so they're just paying for their license or certificate, which is like $30.
Well, he's not
to get the
doing that
training.
anymore. We have to go.
And now we're
back.
training Josh, right?
We're
So
trying
in
to
the
get-
interim, we've
yeah,
gone some places, so we have travel expenses, so the price varies.
Yeah.
Because we don't have a consistent
But
approach.
once
Our
we
goal
get
is to
Josh
get
trained, then we'll do that
in-house.
lifeguard training certification in-house.
And then we pay the $30 for the certificate, and we don't have to pay travel and meal expenses.
So we're giving bonuses to the lifeguards to come back.
We
Well,
give
that's not
That's,
projected in
that's, that
It's
bonus
absorbed in
thing
that.
is for this,
If they stay at the whole.
This
Yeah,
year, the
and
whole
it's
summer.
absorbed in that, and we think that at most we'll have 5 to 10 employees that will be able to meet that requirement, so we're talking $2,000.
So are we gonna do the same for the parks people, so they'll come back every year?
It's not for
part-time?
coming back, it's for, Phil, so you haven't seen the proposal yet, but it's for 300 hours from May 1st through August 31st, 10 consecutive weeks.
So they don't
It-
quit.
So they don't quit during her busy season, to give them a bonus if they stay. So the quarter that part-time people get for coming back every year is given to every part-time employee of the city, parks, maintenance, Evans Plunge, golf course, that part, that
a
raise is
lifeguard
for
has
all
to
of them.
have special training.
I know, I was a
They have-
lifeguard.
I know you know, but I'm just trying to explain to you. You have to have special training, and you can't just pick somebody up off the street and say, come in and be a lifeguard tomorrow. And that's why they offered the bonuses, because It's a very, very important thing for our plunge to have. There are very few positions in our city that deal with life and death issues. Lifeguards can be one of them. And so it's very important that we keep those so that we can keep the plunge open and operate safely. And so that's why that was.
What I was getting at, if you'd let me finish, last time I was on the council, everybody at the plunge got a special treat nobody else in the city's got by swimming free and stuff over there.
But each department has to look at what they can do to incentivize and address their issue, and this was a innovative way that they sat down and said, what can we do?
I understand that.
So it can't just, they desperately needed their lifeguards to stay. And that's their incentive to try to get that to go, and so that's what they have done to try to get that to stay.
But, you know,
So basically, this is Chris's attempt to try to reduce the amount of turnover that she has.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It is a huge expense.
Yeah.
During.
I just didn't know,
time.
my question, I just didn't know if we were doing it in-house, getting them trained and getting them certified.
We did before, but we've gone through periods where Bolton no longer could provide that service for the city, so we
Well, I
had to
think it was
go.
like $300 or something like that.
It's,
That's
it's,
our
a-
If we go
annual
out, if
cost.
we
Yeah,
go,
that's
no, what I'm saying is when we used to go to get a couple of them done at a time, it was like $300 or something like that.
it's
In the past,
expensive.
We've gone to Shadron and we've gone to Rapid City Swim Center, so it depends
Yeah.
on who we go to and what they charge us. But
And-
there's the mileage and the food if they're
Yeah.
going somewhere.
And even if we're able to train them in-house, if you lose 2 lifeguards, and it takes 2 weeks, 3
Oh, it
weeks,
takes-
a month to even
Yeah.
fill the position, and now you have to certify them,
Yeah,
you're just putting that much more workload on the lifeguards that are
Well,
left.
especially in the middle of the busy season. My thing was, I didn't know if he was doing it in-house, getting them certified in-house. If we weren't, I was gonna say that would be a good way to.
but what I'm getting at is we already give them extra perks that nobody else in the city gets.
What's that?
Everybody that works at the plunge can go in there and use the facility free.
Yeah, the IRS helps dictate who can do that. We can't give it to everybody else in the city without taxing that benefit to them because they don't directly work at that place. So
there's
they-
also
we-
certification requirements that you have to maintain proficiency in swimming, and so that's another reason why that's given.
So
George,
they,
are all the lifeguards down there certified?
Pardon?
yes, they can't
They
start
have
as a
to
lifeguard
They
until they get
have to
trained.
be.
Okay.
We can't operate without that. We would be,
No, I was just wondering if
They have to be
all of them were
certified so
or
that,
in process.
They are before they can do the job.
yeah.
Okay.
This salaries and wages amount does not include any additional employees or any increases based on requests that you'll be hearing shortly for Evans Plunge. Their professional services, $16,800, also pays for their merchant processing, Black Hills Technology, Ecolab, Serval that provides their towels, their sportsman point of sale, annual fee. Their advertising budget is $25,000. They have $25,000 in building repairs. These repairs include 3 sets of double doors, 2 handicap accessible, 2 of the doors handicap accessible, a new employee door with a pass key, and new steps/entry to hot tubs and plank vinyl flooring in the meeting room to match the plank vinyl flooring located throughout the plunge.
That's the building repairs and maintenance, right, that you just read off? Okay.
$15,000 for equipment repairs. This would be phase 3 of the HVAC update. This installs exhaust fans over the pool. It also will provide 3 new toilets for the men's locker room.
And is that all done in-house too?
Yes, most often. Supplies, $15,000. Other materials for resale, $20,000. This is merchandise to stock their gift shop. Clothing, $1,000. This is employee apparel. Janitorial supplies, $10,000. Minor tools, $2,000. Purification chemicals, $3,000. Gas for the lawnmower, $50. Food for concessions, $19,000. They're working on some night signage, for next year, 1,500. Travel and conference, 2,500. An additional $1,000 was added, to have the opportunity to attend the second annual Spa and Hot Springs meeting.
Yeah, they do an annual conference. It
Conference.
just started,
Conference.
this is their
Yeah.
second year that they started to get everybody together in the US and other nations that have hot springs to bring it together to create, to share ideas and.
Telephone, 2,500.
Why did it go up $1,000?
That's why. That additional
Because that
$1,000 was
additional?
added to attend, the potential to attend that training.
Okay.
It doesn't lock her into going, but
Is that training far away?
it is going to be held somewhere far away
I
next
think in
time.
California this next year.
Yeah, somewhere farther away.
Yeah.
And it's like a week long or something, 5 days, 4 or 5 days. Telephone, they're no longer paying for cable TV. Electricity, you thought the golf course electric bill was high? And that's with some LED lights and some savings, so.
That does reflect some savings for LED.
Machinery, 4,000.
What are they looking at?
I am not sure what that was
Pumps
supposed
or?
to be for, no.
Cleaning.
I just wish I could remember everything. She probably told me, but oops.
There it is.
George, I know that it's a far ways of ever getting into their budget, but would there ever be a possibility that they could do any kind of a solar array on the roof to kind of reduce that?
We've looked at that, and yeah, there is a possibility.
Any grants? on
We,
that?
the original proposal that we had, we looked,
She has
doing several
installed
city
LED,
buildings with
and
solar
we
arrays.
recognized a savings.
And if we would
But
have
we didn't know
gone
we
with
recognized
the
when we
20-year
budgeted in
financing,
2019.
it would have saved the city money every year. But the Black Hills Energy came in, they adjusted their rate for the plunge along with the LED lighting, that cut that down. The price of, because of the price of solar panels actually going up with the issues of getting them from China, raised the initial purchase price, so it no longer became economically feasible. But it's something we've got on the back burner. We can call GenPro at any time and have them reevaluate.
Now, this is going to probably be a real dumb question, but would the roof support? I mean,
Yes,
is there any question
they've,
as to the?
they've they had the engineering, the solar panels are very light and been calculated for wind loads. We asked those questions. And
Years and years ago, when the city bought the place, what, I guess the city engineer actually looked at that, because that was a conversation of future investment for the plunge. And at that time, they said, no problem as far as weight
Okay.
and structural, any type of stuff. They said that back then,
Structure-wise, it would support it easily.
yeah,
Okay.
but,
There should be a reporter on there.
yeah,
Because we hired that engineer out of Rapid, do all that.
we had the city look at it, and then just to cover ourselves for the purchase, we had another engineer come in and look at it, but they said the same thing. But,
I didn't mean to sidetrack.
no, you're fine, I'm just saying, just so you know, we did have.
4,000 for machinery might be for?
No, I haven't, I actually have it
Last
circled
year.
and asked to meet with her today and she couldn't meet with me, so.
And I looked at our notes when we went back and forth and we didn't address
was
it,
it some
so.
kind of cleaning?
There was a steam
Uh,
extractor last year, budgeted.
What are the steam cleaners?
Yeah, I think that needs to get clarified because I was wondering the same thing when I saw it and wanted to talk to her about it, but
Okay.
didn't get a chance.
So we may have a potential for $4,000 difference. We can't do anything about these two payments, the principal and interest payments on the
When do the
loan.
mortgages, when you gonna have the mortgage burning party for them too?
When? 2033, I think, is the end. I have to, well, maybe it's 2050. Let me tell you for sure. There's a few I gotta think about.
That's when our property taxes, none of us will have to pay them anymore.
Well, I'm gonna definitely put 2032 down on my calendar that I want to pay property tax.
Yeah, I
Don't bet
don't,
on that.
What's that?
Don't bet on that.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna bet on it pretty well, because I don't think I'll be around.
We'll figure out someplace else to spend the money.
Okay, I do it in my memory.
Yeah, 2033 is when it goes away.
So that's
December
really-
2032 is our last year.
2032 is what you said?
Yeah, December 2032, so it'll go away in the 2033
You
budget.
talking to
I'm
me?
trying to catch
Oh.
Okay, so $785,300 in expenses for the plunge. We projected the revenue without the subsidy of $686,790, so the plunge has a projected loss of $98,510.
it's cheaper than a golf course.
Yes, it is. There's some bright news. And historically, they have not had to use the entire subsidy we budget, but we do have to pass a balanced budget. So with the expenses we are projecting, we do need to subsidize the difference. We ready to move to 212, or do we have anything else? We will clarify the 4,000 on the plunge and may adjust these numbers by 4,000, but as you can see, the cash applied needed in this fund won't be significantly
Drop in
impacted
the
by
toilet.
the additional 4,000.
You know, if the city sold both of those, they'd save taxpayers a lot of money.
Think of all the roads we could repair, but we would also have a very negative impact, I believe, on our sales tax if they stayed closed. And not just our sales tax, but our liquor, lodging, and dining, our bid, several other funds, so. In this sales tax fund, which, if you remember the notes I shared for you, this fund was established and funded by 1/3 of the money collected from the 2% the city collects from the sales tax. City Ordinance 1008 states that the fund is to be used for debt service, street improvements, street maintenance, equipment, building construction, building upkeep and repair, and any other expenditure deemed necessary and approved by the Common Council. So historically, in this fund, under professional and services and fees, we have paid the 1/3 of the social media position, which you also saw in the bid and the general fund. This year, we are projecting $150,000 for road repairs and hoping that we receive the community access grant that we applied for, where we can magically make that number $720,000 worth of road repairs. That would be our portion. And then we also have $40,000 budgeted for flood wall preservation. Those amounts total to $200,000.
Before we get off that amount, Misty.
Yep.
We talked about at Public Works, the flood wall repairs that Kim had talked about, potentially having the city crews do some of the work. Was anybody able to ever find any of the, emails, conversations, or anything that Kim had talked about? My recollection was that we needed to have something done by the end of 2019, and that came from the Corps.
The Corps had reached out to Kim in the last week or so, asking about an August 21st date to see if it still worked. I replied she was no longer with us, included Tracy, who's been included on these walks and calls in the past, and George, and I haven't heard back from the Corps person yet, so.
And I think that's coming from the Chamberlain office, I believe, is where that email came from.
I don't believe anything's been done to maintain the flood wall. Kim had, her plan was to have Billy's folks do it. She had talked with them, and Billy and somebody else had said that they're good with cement, concrete, they would enjoy the opportunity to do that. And I think it was more along the lines of fixing cracks or small holes or whatever, because they were going to lower them over the side of the flood wall from the road, and then they would, do some repairs. And she had that built into the budget for flood wall repairs.
And that was acceptable to
Core?
Corps of Engineers.
That was the way that it was presented to Public Works, is that Kim had talked with them and felt like as long as the repairs got done, the ones that were recommended, they weren't concerned whether the city did it or somebody, or whether it was contracted.
Really? That's,
This gentleman is from Chamberlain,
Yeah.
South Dakota, George, and it's
Yeah.
August 21st at 9 a.m. that we told him, it was the date he was trying to confirm with her for a flood wall inspection. Sorry, I don't know.
We
more.
best heard it.
My concern is identifying what it is that was part of that conversation that
Yeah.
the Corps was expecting of the city of Hot Springs and when it needed to be done. Nothing's been done.
so, wouldn't those interactions be still here somewhere?
I'm sure Billy should know if she's
I
talking to him.
think Tracy's been more involved with the core walks and conversation than Billy would have. And yes, the report should be somewhere here. I think both Tracy and Scott have access to some of the flood channel information.
Because there's money in the 2019 budget. to
There's been
repair
money
those.
every budget since I've started for flood wall repairs and so.
Okay.
I'd like to see
Hopefully-
that because, very honestly, in the past, the Corps was either their way or the highway.
You're
basically
available August
doing
21st
work
at 9 a.m.
who
and
they
want
would
to attend
suggest to do
the
work.
walkthrough with us.
But they would approve it.
What has happened
Yeah.
to the money that had been appropriated?
Well, we've got, you know,
Yes,
and it's really an unfair
everything
issue.
balance.
You've got a Corps with a $1 billion budget, and they govern what happens to a town of 3,500 and wave their finger and say, hey, you've got to replace this or do that, and find the funds for it. I've talked with Governor Nome about it. He thinks it's unfair, but what can you do? I guess we have to get our congressional delegation involved and see if there's some kind of grants or whatever, if we had to make significant repairs. But when this individual comes in August, no one is privy to past inspection reports. That's the problem. We'll change people, and we'll have to look and see what they say needs to get done. Again, it's frustrating. It's frustrating to deal with an organization that
Still goes by
uses-
rules from 1905.
1907, it was just
Okay,
updated to
so- I'm sorry.
1907. And even if they'd used Custer flood of 2019, it would probably have been. So,
When we put that bridge up down by the Mueller Center, we had to do quite a bit to get that put in with Core.
It was a big
And-
fight.
so it's an issue, and and obviously on one end of the spectrum, they have much more serious issues to wonder about than flood wall in Hot Springs, when you've got New Orleans flooding along the Missouri and Mississippi River that's been going on, hurricanes and so forth. So it's
We took the money that we poured into Afghanistan, Iran, and Iraq for 1 week. We can fix about everything in this country.
yeah.
That's a fact. Billions a day.
So improvement other than buildings in the 212 fund, we have our largest amount, that's $535,000. That includes the $450,000 estimated for the Jennings Bridge repair, $40,000 for golf course irrigation improvement, and And that's saved, so we set that aside, and then 45,000 saved for 2021 road reconstruction. We talked last year about taking those savings amounts out since we're having to use cash applied to set aside money for savings. I would argue the same thing this year. The bonus is we anticipated cash applied for this year, and we didn't have, well, if we don't get the bridge done, we won't have to. So that same cash we would have applied towards the bridge project last year is still cash that we can apply towards the bridge project this year. And we can discuss this $535,000 figure and talk about maybe adjusting that down and not setting aside money, at least for the 2021 road reconstruction, if we're having to use cash applied, because it's the same dollar.
What's the state giving us for that bridge, or are they?
It's the almost $2 million project,
Yeah.
and so that's 20%. They're giving us 80%.
Yeah.
And when's that bridge, it's going in when they do the road?
It
or-
was supposed to be done this year, but we had some problems with the Corps approving the design that Rose Engineering submitted, and so now we
It
got
looks like the
that.
last update I got from DOT last week was, it looks like it's getting ready to be, the bid is actually getting ready to be let.
So we may carry it over 2 years, we don't know, but get out your magic ball.
Sounds very familiar.
Yeah.
So, any
So
changes to
hopefully
that
it'll be
number?
done before the road's reconstructed.
So you say we're putting money aside for our share of that?
Yes, we are budgeting to pay for our share of that. And then the other, that's the 450,000, we're budgeting to pay for our share of that. The 40,000 and the 45,000, the 40 is for setting aside money for future golf course irrigation projects, as we have done in the past, but did not do last year because of the shortage. And then 45,000 to set aside money for 2021 road reconstruction, which we had done in the past, but didn't do last year because of the bridge.
Didn't you have to put away money for the whiting on this new project?
Yeah, we already did,
That's what
restricted that
we did,
cash,
that's all.
yeah, we have it restricted in this fund.
So we've got the money set aside for the lights. This would set money aside for the bridge.
Well, it doesn't set it aside, we're budgeting for it in this year. We're not setting it aside for later, we're budgeting for it to be expensed in this year.
Any monies that you reduce, and that goes to where?
It stays in the cash balance of the fund, which we would have to apply to cover the shortage that's
Okay.
needed. So
It
it
just-
stays within that fund.
But it just becomes available for something else?
Whatever deemed
Okay.
necessary and approved by the common council.
Oops.
So golf course irrigation or 45,000 for road reconstruction, leave it on there, take it out. It just means that we would restrict cash, it'd still be available the last two.
So when does he plan on doing his irrigation project?
Well, he's done it in phases, and he actually spent we had saved for 3 years, and he spent $101,000 in 2018, sorry, to do some significant repairs. But there are several phases of the improvement projects, and so 45 may or may not touch it. He has, asked for the draws from council and come before you to talk about what he plans to do with the money before you've released it historically. Am I leaving it? Keeping going?
Yep.
Principal and interest payments include our Boulder Falls special assessment and sales tax bond issues. So those amounts are calculated there, nothing you can do about that. And then transfers out, those are those subsidy amounts. And that brings us to our total of $1,148,490. And we have projected revenues in that account of $686,838. So we would need cash applied of $461,000. This fund currently has a balance of $1.1 million. That's current balance. I'm not projecting that that'll be the balance at the end of 2020. But anything we spend or do not spend this year that we budgeted in this fund stays there to cover spend or not spend in the next year. So there is cash available to have this cash applied amount right now.
So if the bridge don't get done, that money will just stay in there for next year?
Correct.
And Misty, that if we do need money for utilities and so forth and choose to go with a loan, that helps us with those.
In those prospective funds, it wouldn't affect
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah.
But yeah. In this budget, you did not see any amount approved for 211 Helpline. We didn't give them anything last year, or the Boys and Girls Club, and we did give them an amount last year.
Didn't we lower shed code to 9,000?
Yes, we did. I'm sorry, I didn't get that updated yet, but I will. Thank you for
Okay.
noticing that. Maybe we didn't we give Boys and Girls Club something?
I don't think we
No,
did.
no, we
not
did
last
not.
year, we didn't.
Okay.
No, not last year.
Or I guess this year. This year.
Yeah.
So yes, we did lower that to 9,000. Oh, and we lowered Prairie Hills Transit too.
Yeah. Because we put Prairie Hills Transit and Shedco
In the general fund. Yeah.
Considered every year.
So,
Zeroed out those two.
any feedback on this one?
What is the helpline? I'm sorry.
You have that in your budget packets. They provided information that shared what they do and their
Social services type help, I
Okay.
think, if you call for it.
have access to critical resources that help make their lives better. By dialing 211, individuals can get simple answers such as the hours for the ministerial association's food pantry or serious help such as domestic violence or crisis suicide intervention. They have even, I think, some numbers of calls and stuff that they give you. They've been around for quite a while. They've always
Yeah.
asked 1,000.
And aren't they helped by the United Way? Big,
They won't go away if you don't do them.
Right?
Did we give them anything last year?
No.
No.
This might be a dumb question. Does this come out of the 212? Why is it on this page? Is it we give them any money, does it come out of it?
That's where even Prairie Hills and Shedco used to come out of this one because it was other expenses deemed necessary and approved by the Common Council until it was determined last year to put both Prairie Hills Transit and Shedco in the general fund as a department.
So anything we give to Boys and Girls Club or the 211, it's not gonna, we wouldn't have to cut anything else of the other funds?
But if you gave them anything, you're adding to your cash applied out of this fund. You're taking from your reserves in this fund to approve any of it.
My recollection of the conversation last year was, should we be giving any money to anybody? For me, the seniors are one, the Boys and Girls Club are 1A. I think it says a lot about a community, how they deal with the oldest in our community and the youngest in our community. Boys and Girls Club of the Black Hills, the last numbers I remember looking at, they put about $75,000 into Hot Springs. I think we need to come up with something, and I'd like to start at 5,000. I understand it's going to be cash applied, but seniors and our oldest and our youngest are near and dear to my heart. I think we need to try to find some money for them.
You always cut Shedco down. Because I agree with you. I know you don't agree with me, but that's,
Well, I'm just trying to stay away from Shedco. I understand that you throw the name Shedco out, and I think a lot of times there's personalities that are represented in Shedco more than the function that they provide.
Oh, I'm sorry. Why is that?
I've heard the comments.
Personalities?
I've heard the comments about.
Because I really don't,
Yeah,
I mean, until I got, back in the city, I didn't know anything about it.
yeah. Brian Spitzer isn't with Shepco, but Brian brought a lot of negative attention for a number of folks. I didn't agree with that,
Okay.
but so I think,
Brian's not with Shepco?
no, he's with Schiff now, he's moved on. But I look at Longars as that long-term investment that finally paid off for us. So
I have
that's
nothing
important
against
to have.
Shedco whatsoever. To be honest, in the past, the senior citizens and the center was a very big thing for me.
In favor of, or?
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
Boys and Girls Club, I support them. I don't see 10,000 being there, but to be honest with you, Prairie Hills Transit, that is a business. I don't care if they say they're a nonprofit or not, it's a business. And they wouldn't still be here if they weren't doing okay. So, Prairie Transit, and we're not in the business of transportation. That's my honest opinion. That's why we have a taxi guy. Whether he's any good or not, I can honestly say, I don't know. But seniors, to me, that's a big thing. Shedco, yes, their interest in our community and what they've done, yeah, that's a good thing. But the reality is, we ain't got a whole hell of a lot of money. And that's what, to me, it always comes back to. You take a look at your basic functions of your community, what holds you tight. That's your water department, trash, sewer, these things here, they are good things. I'm not saying they're not, but the thing is that is not the basis of our community. If we have to cut stuff, this is the kind of stuff you would cut.
Well, and these have already been approved and decided as we discussed.
No, I
in
know
general
that.
fund,
I'm
and
just
so
saying.
these are the ones left to discuss in the 212 fund.
You think 5,000? Or did you say 10? I don't remember what you said.
You recommended 5 off the
I
start,
would like
right?
to see no less than 5, and I would certainly go for 10, but I would also go for 5 if that's the opinion of the group.
I think the Boys and Girls Club ought to have something. I said that a long time ago.
I'm not gonna argue over, the boys and girls. I would love to go what they want, both of them.
Is there, I'm gonna play the new guy card. I know you guys are about to pull that deck from me. I've still got a couple. Is there anything historical that, I've heard a couple of things, but I don't remember what I heard, but there were some facilities that weren't cared for right, or were actually damaged by the kids, which would kind of indicate poor oversight. Am I imagining something?
I don't recall anything like that. They
Well-
were in Bethesda's, or the old
Yeah.
library, they
Oh
occupied the
my
basement
God.
of Bethesda.
That was my head.
For years, until a benefactor purchased and provided this new facility.
Now, they're over by
Eye doctor.
the eye doctor now. And I saw a bunch of kids playing in there today, so.
I used to volunteer with Boys and Girls Club when I was in high school, and at that time, they had very good oversight, and I don't think they were ever just running loose or damaging things at that time that I ever saw.
I was on the board when it started, and I don't remember that being an issue either. My daughter went when it was in the basement.
When there was
of
up Bethesda,
and they-
there was issues there, I know, because that's right in my ward, and I heard about it all the time.
It was like drop off and pickup issues, not really the kids destroying property, right?
No, well, the biggest issues with most of the families that lived, the houses that lived around Bethesda was pickup and delivery, but the other thing was, when they would have certain meetings, I guess, in the basement, there were certain portions of the basement that were separated, and they would put so many kids doing this and whatever in another room, and I guess some of the family members would show up for whatever reason, and they had a big issue with it because there was no supervision, I guess. But I couldn't tell you honestly on what the problem was. I always got pulled into it mainly on that. And then for about a month or so, I guess there wasn't enough people taking care of the kids, and there was too many kids for the size of the building. The fire, one of the families called and had the firemen come down and inspect the building. They said there wasn't enough room for those amount of kids and exits and so on and so forth. Next thing I know that they weren't in there anymore. So.
What age groups do they?
It was what, elementary school?
Yeah, mostly elementary. They can't go up through middle school.
I
went
think
to the high school.
they're done at what, 5th grade or something like that?
No, they have a couple middle schoolers there. I know they have a 6th grader and a 7th grader there, so I think.
And I
they're
think
allowed.
one of the, I think one of the issues was they would help them with their homework, I guess, is one of the things that they do. And that's why some of them would be in other rooms as opposed to others. And then one of those that didn't have any would be somewhere else playing games or whatnot. So, but to be totally honest with you, I personally wasn't there. And you know how when an issue comes up, everything in the book comes out. So, you know, I can't honestly say what the issue is there.
I feel like that would be more of a reason to give them money so they could provide more for more supervision. So it's better for them to be at Boys and Girls Club than running around the streets, I would think.
Is that still a problem though? I mean, is that,
I don't think it is, but
I mean,
I haven't heard that.
I wouldn't think kids that young would be running around the streets.
I live next to a park and I see a lot of unsupervised children
Oh, yeah.
next to it.
It's 5,000 in amount that we would like to try to add to our budget for the Boys and Girls Club for 2020.
you
Or
guys
not.
can hash that one out.
I had 2, I think, that were saying that.
So this is where I get locked up in this, is that, because I'm on the Evans Plunge, representative. They are constantly complaining about, the board is always saying we need a new soaking pool. Our hot tubs are disgusting. And they keep pushing it, and so I get locked up because I know that we have some rundown stuff going on there. And then I see this and I'm just pulled, because I know that we could maybe increase some interest in the plunge if we had some nice soaking area, because it really is disgusting. I have to agree with that. So I get so locked up with this because I totally want to support all of this too. And that's why I just sit over here like, I don't know.
It's really,
Yeah.
I feel bad saying what I say, but the reality is, unfortunately, that's why we're here, that's why we were appointed. And it is difficult.
It's easy to rely on this cash applied to, but I can tell you, you could only do that for 1 or 2 years. And I know the bridge is the big thing and that'll go away, but it's harder to take away subsidies you give than to give them.
You gotta look at those boys and girls on that left column there. And look, 20, 25 years down the road, look, we're sitting here.
It's true.
instead of in
That is our future, yeah.
Yeah, you got it. That's always been my point. If a town's gonna grow, you gotta keep the kids here. Because the rest of them are just in their day age.
And there's also the other point, that is that the city's function to support an organization like that that's supported by United Way.
We can't give
And,
grants to, or write grants to give away.
And is it our function?
That's why I say about the transit, I mean, that is not really our function. I know that if we didn't give them anything, we would hear about it. But the reality of it is, that is not the city's real function.
We would hear about it if we gave them 25, if we gave them 25,000. we'd probably hear about it because they requested 35.
Well, one thing I want to say about Prairie Hills Transit is they did a new program where they got all of our kids to the summer rec program, and it was really cool to see that all these kids that would not have been part of it were part of it. And so they are actually, you know, it was really neat just to see that program. So not saying one way or another, but it was, they are serving our senior and our
And the other thing is they're the only transit that has handicapped accessibility. Uber or taxi.
They were carrying
can't do
golf
that.
clubs out for the kids onto the golf
Were
course.
they? Yeah.
Yes, they were. And, you know,
Yeah.
I knew everything that we had going on last year with them. And just to watch them get those kids organized, where they were going, golf clubs to everybody, it was kind of neat just to see it because of some of the negative stuff that they had.
I have to back Allison on something. I was against the plunge, 100%, still am, but we own it. And if we ain't gonna fix things in there that's gonna help us, it's gonna end up, you know, being run down and nobody will start going there and then we'll have problems there too. You know, if nobody goes there, how are we gonna pay for the darn thing?
So I've always felt that way, and then yesterday at our office, we had somebody come in and said, I'm kind of disappointed in Hot Springs. And I said, oh, tell me about that. And she said, the Moccasin Springs was closed, and so I was told by the community not to go to the plunge because it's not necessarily a soaking place, which is true-ish, right? It's not necessarily somewhere you just go and sit and relax. There's some truth to that. And she goes, so I was sent to Chautauqua, and I thought, honestly, even our community is suggesting don't go soak in the plunge. And our board has been saying forever, these are not okay. This is something that we wanted to look at, but kind of get locked in and where do we fund it? Because that is the question that goes to them, well, how are you going to pay for it? You know? So anyway, that was just a really interesting interaction I had with somebody that had just, I have nowhere to soak in your hot spring. I'm like,
Well, I don't know how many know, but I guess I should spit it up. Before the city ever bought or was interested in buying the plunge, my sister-in-law and her husband managed it. And I've actually been through 6 years of cleaning it, painting it, help setting up, you know, everything in there. Every closure, I was there. And to be honest with you, back then, I would have never used the hub. It's basically human soup, and that's just the way it is. All right. And so, it sounds to me like you're still dealing with what
these have
what
been,
you bought back then.
absolutely. That is one of the biggest things, and that's what they got, you know, we had him come and say, really, you're not a soaking hot tub, you know, or a hot spring kind of facility. Do we address that? Do we not? I know that our members and our board wants it to, like, please, these are disgusting. So.
No,
What Steve Beckley said, we've got an excellent community center. It's a community gathering place, and it serves as an attraction in the summer to bring people to Hot Springs. But if we want to grow the plunge, what we have to do is utilize the water in a spa type setting, and that he feels will bring the additional people in. And we've got an excellent setup because mom and dad can go soak, grandma and grandpa can go soak, kids can go to the water park, and we've got a good setup. But that's something that the city certainly can afford to invest in. That's got to be a private-public partnership. Maybe someday someone will step forward and
Yeah, for what
make that
his
proposal.
guidelines were, but I think for a general certain area, you know, I know the board's
Yeah.
talked about, like, maybe we put it in the ground where the current hot tubs are and make it, you know, rock, so it kind of
Yeah.
looks like it has that
And there's been
spa-like
other-
feel to it.
opening the windows on the north side and maybe making a, smaller pool there.
Yeah. But I digress, because I was, you know, I just wanted everybody to know that's why I get locked up without a direct answer to, you know, wanting to hear what everybody else feels about it, but also torn that our facilities need some to be addressed as well. And also looking at trying to increase revenue in the plunge, I feel like the two would go hand in hand.
What have you plugged in there, Misty?
I put 5,000 additional in there because I put 5,000 in Boys and Girls Club. That there is no right or wrong answer here, but that results in additional subsidy being applied. I can take it out. I just had it plugged in because that's where I thought the conversation was going, but I would be happy to take it out.
Okay,
and
so
change it
that
to-
was Boys and Girls Club, 5,000, not hot tub rental.
And I guess-
Not be throwing in another line item, that's what I just did.
Those items you are taking out of the budget that you could allocate to other things. So you can either look at those as being expenses to you, or you could look at them as being investments into the future of the community.
And that's it.
Actually, they go hand in hand.
They are an
One-
expense.
Yeah, and that's what I
And
said
an
last year
investment.
too, was very much an investment, I felt that, as well. And then I, those investment for there, but then also an investment into our building or, whatever, and then how do we kind of just balance that out? So I agree that it's important to invest in our community as well.
Investments generally result in much greater net worth coming to the community than it ends up as an expense. Almost across the board, anything.
That's a-
You gain more back from investing than you do in expenses.
But if I added $100,000 there, it's $100,000 expense, and that's a broad statement to say tenfold, I'm gonna get my money back on that investment.
Yeah.
So,
That might have been said years ago, but I don't truly believe that anymore. What you invest,
there's a rate of return I can count on.
once you invest, you still have a nurturing to go with it. So, you just don't throw money at it and everything comes back to you. There is a nurturing to it. So, as much as you put into it is what you get out.
So in other words,
Just
all
not-
saying, you gotta spend money to make money? Is
You
it
do.
true?
It is true. You gain no interest, and there is no such thing as an investment without having the expense. You have to put it in there first in order to expect it.
You can't spend more than you have.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do that long term.
No,
I might
no,
be presenting to
and-
you a budget where I'm asking you to do that,
The
or
Fed,
that we
I
are.
mean, there is a lot of truth to that, but the other thing is, there has to be a nurturing to it, and the nurturing part isn't just throwing money at it. It is taking an interest in what you're putting the money in. So if we really want something out of a lot of these things, then we need to take a bigger stand at how it's being operated. Boys and Girls Club, we can give them $5,000, we can give them $10,000. But unless you know how it's being spent and is it going towards a good functionality for the program,
And along with what you're saying, we could ask for them to request a specific,
Come on.
like a specific goal, and like, we would
Yeah,
like to
what do
fund
you-
this,
what are you
this
gonna do
idea,
with this?
we're trying
How
to
much
get
they want.
new tables or whatever, we
One
could
at a
do
time,
that kind of
and they
thing
had
as
a
well.
request.
Where it's a
And-
specific project.
yeah, and that's why I'm saying, there is a point of nurturing whatever you're, I mean, for the last 5 years of my career, I was a headhunter. They hired me to come in, and they sent me all over the place, and I went through, and my job was, who's valuable, where's the value, how you have it set up, what your program is, the process is, and I deleted stuff that was more of a cost and hindrance towards the direction the company would want to go. That's what I did. And I come to find out from guys that, older folks that have been doing what I started doing, and they're right, if you like just using the 5,000, heck, I have nothing against it, I'm not gonna argue one way or the other. But the thing is, we can give them $5,000, but what is that $5,000 gonna do for them? And what, as a
They
community,
have it in their proposal.
what is it, the community getting out of
If it was
the
in your budget
investment?
stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You can get something back, but there is a nurturing point, and if we really want to see them grow and do a lot of good things, then we need to take a better
If it wasn't in yours, it might be because they didn't give us copies.
Okay.
You did-
Yeah,
you
I was
don't
gonna
remember
say,
getting
no,
it?
I did not get that one.
Okay,
And
I've
then
passed it
I
around.
don't think I got it either.
They're asking for an investment in the youth of 10,000 to support the Boys and Girls Club, and so they didn't.
But not specifically, this is what it goes.
Yeah, their
towards or anything.
expenses are much greater than that contribution
Gotcha.
amount. You can look at it and pass it around. We can talk all night about
I
the
know.
benefits and the investments and the risks and the costs, and at some point, we have to decide
So
what
take
we're
some numbers,
gonna
don't we?
do. What's too late, that's up for an hour, but, no, I just think we could go round and round with the.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I mean, and I'm not gonna argue
Do
one
or
way or
we
the
don't.
other on the,
But I think
for the
it's,
Boys and Girls Club or the Upline or whatever.
That's all we gotta decide, either we do or we don't.
Yeah, I had it to bring down.
As easy as that.
And the dollar
I
amount.
mean, they try to explain that to people, that they think
Yeah.
this supposed to give them 70,000, it's got
I agree with Robert. I'd like to give them 5,000 at least.
Any significant objections to that proposal?
The difference between
I hear none.
No, it's like I say, I'm good with it, and if we wanna give 1,000 to Helpline, that's fine for me too. I mean, we do know what we're
we've got a
doing.
lot of expenses coming up, I think
I agree.
I'm okay with giving helplines A or a we.
I think that's,
We don't have it to give away.
Yeah,
We didn't
and I
ask
should get
people
2
to
votes
ask
on the
either.
Boys and Girls Club because
I'll support the 5,000. I don't have an
You want
issue
one
with
vote each way?
Yeah.
Yes and no.
I mean, I do see the significance of it, but at the same time, I also see that we're just stealing money from the right end to give to the left.
Yeah.
So,
We didn't give them anything last year. They won't, I guess I shouldn't say this, but they won't fold up and
Yeah,
close this year
they'll never
either.
fold up.
Well, they may at some point, but
It wasn't that long ago that we gave them 15,000.
it's true.
The helpline?
No, Boys and Girls Club.
Oh.
And I can remember the year that Boys and Girls Scout and Chetco got zero.
Okay, what's next, Misty?
That's it. If we're all approving of this, then your cash applied budget and your 212 fund for 2020 will be 466,000, and without the bridge, you can take away 450 of that, so you would be at 16,000. So next year, something's gotta give. You don't wanna cash apply every year, or you need to build up your reserves in that account. So the way it sits right now, $466,652 cash applied. We have it now. I can't guarantee what you or the next council may do between now and the end of 2020, but we have it now to apply. Next year, even without the bridge, you would still have a shortage if you left everything the way it was. So,
All right, am I understanding you correctly then, that if we need it this year, we
got it
we
so far?
budgeted? If we don't need it, it just goes to next year and it's available for us then when we need
Yes,
it. So we've got it for when we need it,
yep,
as long as something else catastrophic doesn't happen to us.
correct.
That's
Buy
my
a fleet
concern.
of cars for the police department.
That's my concern, is having the money for the lights, for the road reconstruction, and being able to pay for the bridge. And we've managed that, we've taken care of that.
Yeah, unless something drastic or significant happens in between now and then.
But we've taken what actions we can with what information we have.
basically just 466,
To fund those
it's
two
rainy
big
day
ones.
money right now.
Okay,
Are we structurally balanced?
with cash applied, yes.
Good.
So Brad Ford would tell you that's not.
So no, we're not.
That's
You're
not,
not.
you're using cash applied, and that's only in our 212 fund. In our general fund, we did not apply any cash, we are structurally balanced, but in our 212 fund, for reasons we can explain up to 450,000, we have applied cash.
Are you done with your stuff? May I make one more Zurcher statement that I would like to inform the council on? Is this right,
Yes.
Mayor?
absolutely.
Okay, we've talked about this whole Zurcher thing, and I'd like to give you a couple minutes so that you know why we're going down this road. Currently, both Custer County and Fall River County use a system called Justice. It's an old system. Custer County says, we are changing to Zurcher. When they do that, if Fall River County does not follow suit, they will no longer be able to be each other's backup for dispatch. County commissioners recognize that, and so they are saying, we will go along with Zurcher also. By the city of Hot Springs going along with it, we get all the benefits for, as it turns out, a little less than $9,000 upfront costs. And it's going to add a whole lot of efficiencies. So,
Isn't on a disaster thing that is also updated also, so FEMA can actually utilize the same system if we had a disaster in our area. Isn't that correct?
as far as,
As going with this new system, because everything would be fluid
yeah,
in the two counties.
yeah, we're like almost the only two counties in South Dakota that don't already use
That's,
Zurcher.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So-
It makes it more fluid, so FEMA and any disaster that the government would get involved in, our system in our local area, county areas would work with that.
Yeah, and it'll also, by doing this, then Fall River won't have to try to hire a bunch of dispatchers. So,
So for 9,000, basically, we're getting about almost $80,000.
Yeah. yeah. So, our portion, once, the way this will work is the contract is between Zurcher and Custer County. Custer County will then generate a memorandum of understanding between them and Fall River County and them and us. So we will be owing, our money will go to Custer County. So we'll owe them a little bit less than $4,500 at the beginning of the project, which will be within a couple of months. Mike believes he can find that within his budget this year. We have budgeted $4,500 in next year's budget. So what that means for us going forward, their estimate was in year 2, the maintenance would be $1,100. It's actually going to be $1,050. So in year 2, we will pay Custer County $1,050 for maintenance. Every year after that, it will be a 5%, that and a 5% increase to maintain. And there's 4 updates a year.
Every year it's gonna go up 5%?
That's what they've estimated. Because it's a very dynamic system. So there is, it's
What do we pay dispatch now?
55,000. And,
And that's not the true cost.
yeah,
I know.
yeah, that's why we
I know it's been that way for years, hasn't
and
it?
that's why we shouldn't let, well, I think we're getting a bargain at 55,000. So anyway, I wanted you to know that's going to be the ongoing cost. What Zurcher needs this week, and this is what I'm learning in municipal government, is very difficult. They need a verbal indication that all 3 entities are going ahead, so that he will then generate the contract with Custer County. So I didn't want to scoot Mike out there on a branch and say, yeah, go ahead and let Zurcher know that we're going to do it without getting an indication from the council that
We're on board.
we're on board. And then, once the memorandum of understanding goes through the grind that it's going to have to, then I imagine what we'll have is a resolution
Or motion to approve the
Motion to
agreement.
approve the memorandum of understanding. So
So it'll cost us 55,000, it'll be 56,000.
yeah.
And that extra 5%, is that on the 1,000 or the 56,000?
It'll be a
No,
separate,
On the software.
it won't be on the 55.
No,
The
it'll be-
dispatch will be, still be dispatched. This will go to Custer County, to the,
As a police
support
department
them.
expense.
Yeah, this will be an invoice. I don't know if it'll fall under claims
hopefully they
or
won't put an
bills
administrative
that
charge
we
on it or something.
Is that gonna be financed through the police department or separately?
The plan is for it to be paid through the police department. The current 45,000 in this year, the next 45,000 in next year, 4,500, thank you.
Wow,
So,
that went fast.
And then the 1,000 ongoing for software,
Does that become like part of their professional services?
or computer software. I'm not quite sure how the billing will look, but
Okay.
Do they have any idea at what point in time that the mechanics, basically computer systems that we purchase now that are last for their upgrades on the equipment?
What the longevity of it's gonna be?
I mean, it's not a deal breaker, I just would like to know, are we looking at every 7 to 10 years, we're gonna be have to upgrade on computers, computers themselves, or could it be 5 years, because depending on how much upgrades.
The indication I got is, I think we will need new computers because we need new computers before we need new computers because this system says you're not working for me. And just, this system it was designed by law enforcement people. Right now, when the guys do a call or whatever, if, like Craig, I know you listen in, you'll hear fax that to 212 or 272. So everything the dispatcher enters, well, if Bob Evans's guys go to write a report, it's already in the system. They have, the dispatcher, when she has time, has to print it out, fax it down to the police department, and either Darcy or the officers then manually enter everything typically into a Word document. And now, as the incident progresses, when they go to write a report, they go down to their new computer, pull it up, and everything's, except maybe their narrative, is populated. One of the cool safety features, and I'm sorry, is right now, because you have local people that are experienced, you'll hear, hey, so-and-so's at that address, we've had to deal with them before. Well, this system, you can tag on an address. If that person has warrants or somebody at that address has warrants, or they know somebody in the neighborhood that has warrants, there's a association matrix that pops up. So the dispatcher who may know, okay, we've dealt with that person before, well, okay, if you get a new dispatcher and she doesn't know, I keep referring she, but
It is a
most of the time, we're not relying on local information. Now, it may be fine if Mike Close is taking the call, but we get Nate Cronin down from Box Elder. Nate doesn't come packaged with local information, so there's a huge benefit on officer safety so that they don't go screaming into a
And it also associates suspects with known, if you were ever picked up, per se, for whatever reason,
Yeah.
your buddies are with you, those known suspects names will pop up immediately with associated with the address or the last name or the car.
Yeah.
And any portion of that also will be associated with those people's cars, those people's address. So immediately, if they went to a home and their suspect isn't there, right away they pull up automatically, and it'll show all known suspects that they do things together, friends.
Yeah.
So it's-
The only thing that could make this better is an in-car $15,000 laptop. And I'll shut up at that point. So is it okay if I tell Mike he can give a verbal nod to Zurcher that says
Yes, I think
we're
we
in?
need it.
I think it sounds good.
There will still be formal council approval over the agreement.
And then, yeah, well, and this is what a typical report looks like for a simple assault. That's how much paperwork goes into it. So,
You should have majored in English.
Meeting adjourned, Mayor? Meeting adjourned?
So what's
Meeting's
gonna happen
adjourned.
all
Thank you.
day?